Alright, welcome back. Last time that we were here, we went over the blueprint animation for the AI zombie and the blend space, and then we went ahead and set AI walk to make the AI walk around. And so next, we want to be able to have the zombie damage us in some way. And to do this, we're gonna need quite a few things. And that being, we need the ability for the AI to see us and recognize who we are. And then we need a way for us to be damaged. And the first thing that we're gonna start off with is damaging the player. And so let's create a folder here, a new folder, and let's just call this blueprint. So that way we just have a basic blueprints folder. And let's create a blueprint class inside there, and let's make that an actor. And let's call this fire hazard. So we're gonna go to add component, and we're gonna do a not a volume. Hold on, I think it's a volume. Yeah, it's a collision. You want a box collision, or maybe a sphere collision. I'm gonna do a sphere collision in this case, just because I like the well-roundedness of it, and for having like a fire or something like that, it's kind of what we're going for here. I do not have a fire thing here, I don't think, so we're gonna have to open up Epic and get something that has a fire animation that we can use. Forgive my the amount of stuff in my library. Got quite a bit, but we need I can't spell today. I don't want to use that. Let's use, I'm gonna personally use the VFX grenade pack. You can use whatever you want to use. That's up to you. But we're gonna use this just so we have some sort of visual representation of where a pain volume is gonna be, because that's what we're gonna make. We're gonna make a volume of which one receives the pain. So while that's downloading in the background, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a event actor begin overlap, and we're gonna come off of that, and we're gonna cast the third person character. In this instance, we are using the third person character. That's the name of our character that we have here. So we're gonna cast to that. That's our character, and we want to get player character off of that gray wild card here. File, save. Now, nope. My bad. Sorry about that. Go ahead and get rid of this get player character and connect this to other actor, because we want the event actor begin overlap. This is what actor is going to be overlapping this little circle that I've created here. And if that is true, we want to start a damaging cycle. So we're gonna type in custom event. I'm gonna call this damage fire, because you know it's the damage from the fire that we're gonna use, and it's a good idea to use names and words and stuff that you can remember in case you have to recall it from another blueprint. You don't exactly remember what it is, but simple names help. So off of damage fire, we're gonna do a delay. We're gonna do a flat, just a flat delay. This is because if we do have anything that happens in the player character before we have this going off, so if we have to decide like damage resistance and stuff like that, it's just having a delay 0 is good for load order pretty much. We want this to load as late as possible as we can after anything else calculates. But for now, everything's going to be 0, and we'll go over that way later. So, in delay, we're going to set a branch. And just like we did with the basic zombie over here with the is walking, we want to make sure that this character is still within this bounds. But we have no way of deciding that. So we're going to go ahead and open up that character, and we're going to go to the event graph tab up here. We're going to leave all this alone for right now. And over here in our variables, we want to create a new variable, and we're going to call that is burning. You know, it's easy to remember, you know, in the fire, are you burning? Yes. Alright, so we've created that boolean over here for is burning, and we have event begin actor overlap. We're actually not going to use that. That is for the entire actor if you want to overlap it. We want to overlap just this sphere over here, this collision sphere that we have. We want to scroll on the right side in the details panel all the way to the bottom till you start seeing these green plus marks on component begin overlap. That's what we want. And we'll drag that up. We'll connect the execution together and the object back into other actor, just like we had before. So now when the player enters into that bubble and not just hit the actual actor, this script right here will fire off. And as soon as he gets into it, we want to set is burning to true, because now we have entered within that sphere. Now we need a way to turn it off. So back to sphere again, down to the bottom of the details panel, on component end overlap. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it right next to it, connect it up, and put the other actor into object, except this time we're going to uncheck is burning. So that way when the character ends his overlap with this red circle here, he will untick this is burning mark on him. Alright, so this branch right here, the condition that we need is burning, and we're going to connect that right in there because this is the value that we need and from where we need it. And if this is true, we want to damage the player. So we go to the third person character, and again we're going to create another variable, and we're going to call this one health, and on the right side you're going to turn that into a float. Compile and save, and for our case we're going to use 100 because that is a pretty simple number to use. Oops, I'm going to use 100 because that's a pretty simple number to use. So back into Fire Hazard, we have cast the third person character again here. Right off for true, we're going to cast again. There are other shorter ways to do this, but I've only have about a year of knowledge, and I'm trying to do this all from memory rather than having reference points. And so off of cast third person character, you want to get player character, and then off to cast the third person character as the third person character, you want to set health. Because now that we established that we overlapped and that we are burning, we want to set the health. And for this instance, we're going to take down as third person character. We want to get health, and off of health you want to get a float minus float. And then this we're gonna do 10. So we're gonna get the health, take 10 off whatever the current health that we have is, and set that health to that number. And clean this up just a little bit. All right. Pardon my OCD. So now that we have that set, we want to get back to another delay, and this is to delay it from starting back over again. And I want to maybe let's test this on 0.5, and then after it's completed, what we name it again? Yeah, damage fire. We want to call the function for damage fire again, which is over here. And again, we want to leave false just the way it is, because we don't want anything to happen in this line if we are not burning. We'll compile, we'll save, just to keep our backups there. On is burning, we want to call the function for damage fire. Compile, and we'll save it again. So now we have, when you overlap the fire area, it'll get whether or not you are burning and set it to yes, because you are within the area, and then it will start the sequence of damage fire. And the first thing it'll ask is, are you burning? Which in this case immediately would be yes, unless you stepped out within the frame or so. It would cast the third person character, it would get your health, it would take 10 off of whatever current health you have, set it to that number. 5 seconds later, half of a second later, it will repeat this whole process of this string again until it hits false. We have a way to get false now with this on component end overlap, and it'll set burning to false, so it comes through and it stops right here. Now that that was done downloading in an Epic, go back to our content folder. I'm going to grenade pack. Yeah, I think that might be it. Go to particles. Got explosions. This is not what I was looking for, unfortunately. I'll have to try another way. Let's use, what's that? Is that sound? That's not sound, is it? Oh yeah, I'll use this. That's just flame. That's exactly what we need. So while we're waiting for that, again, let's go back to fire hazard, because we don't have that. Anything to visual indicator of where the fire is going to be. And we're going to scroll down on the details tab into the rendering, and we want to click hidden in game to false. Compile, save, back to your map. And then we want to go back to our blueprint folder, pull out our fire hazard. You can see that it has this little ring around it, and that's exactly what we want. Hit play and we'll walk up to it. We don't really have an indication of how much health we have. So just for testing purposes, I personally don't like using event tick unless it's for debugging. I try to avoid it at all costs. It's just personally, I think when you have a lot of event ticks or a lot of things running at the same time, a lot of branches or whatnot, it tends to slow it down. And when everything has a tick, and say you get like 20 enemies on screen and they just keep spawning, it's just going to keep slowing down your system with the amount of ticks. And event tick will check every frame. This will fire off every single frame. So now we have a print string coming right off of that, and we grab the health and we get it, and we want that in string, and it converts it into a text string that we can see. Hit play, and you see on the left hand side it says 100, and as we go into here you'll see it slowly start dropping, and that's exactly what we want. And that's perfect. We don't have a way for the character to die though, and that's another thing that we need. So some people would use event tick for this. I prefer not using event tick. I don't really like event tick because I want this to fire off when it's supposed to fire off and not every frame. So if you're lagging just like maybe like slightly and you get 15 frames like for a second, it'll only check it 15 times or whatever we need. I prefer not to have a tick. So we're gonna use another custom event, and we're gonna call this we're gonna call this health check. And what we want this to do is to have a branch. Alternatively, you could just hold down the B and just click, and it brings out a branch. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. We want a branch right here, and then we want to drag out our health, and we want to get health. And off of the health, you want to get equal to or less than with a float equal to or less than. And then you want that to be 0. So if it's equal or less than 0, then this is going to come out true. And if it's true, we want to kill our player, basically. And back to Epic, I think we're going to need an animation for that. And I believe everybody can get this animation starter pack for exactly what we need it for right here. Which is, you know, firing weapons and all that crap. Alright, so we got our fire thing right here. We can add a particle system. Compile, save, particle system. And let's do, we'll scroll through. We'll do bonfire 2. I don't know what this is. You gotta wait for the compiling shaders. Can't see it on my screen, it's off screen, but it's there. That's not what we want. We want more realistic look of fire, personally. Big fire. That's better. We'll just make it bigger as well. Drag it down just a little bit. Alright, now we got some sort of visual indicator. When we get too close to it, we'll start taking the damage. So we're going to go back to sphere, and we're going to turn hidden in game back to true. So that way we only see the fire when we get into game. So, yep, that's all done downloading. So we'll go into our content, open up animation starter pack, and we're going to need to find a death of some sort. For our purposes, we can use this one for now, because we just need a death for this tutorial. Later we can go on and we can fix things up. And so I want to retarget animation assets after I right click it and go to duplicate animation assets and retarget. I believe we went over this once already, and we click on show only compatible skeletons. And then we want to go ahead and try and find our Unreal Engine mannequin. Usually that would be in the game mannequin character mesh sk mannequin sk mannequin, whatever. Click that, and then make sure those are relatively the same, and then retarget. And you'll notice we have this back over here. We're gonna drag this back over to our mannequin. We're gonna move it in here. This is for me personally, because I like to have everything organized. And we have a death in here. We want to open up our third person animation blueprint. Let's go to our default, and now we'll move this jump loop out of the way. We might even fix up the jump and whatnot, maybe add some stuff into it. But we're gonna run a string right off of idle run, and we're gonna add a state, and this state is gonna be called death. And we open up our death state, and in our asset browser on our right, we have that asset that we merged into the skeleton that we just did, that the animation, and we're gonna drag that right out, put that into the result, and we're gonna leave that just as is. You'll get a little message down here. That's because we're not done. We go to the default up here, this tab, and it'll bring you back over here. We only want one transition. Alternatively, you could take this and drag it back over to idle run, and you can have one way to get there and one way to get back, but we're not going to be reviving from death. And so this little this little white circle thing right here, you double click on that, and this is going to be whether or not you can enter in the transition. Now the only problem that we have here is that we don't have any reference to whether or not this character dies within our animation blueprint. That is held within our actual character blueprint. So we go back to our animation blueprint and we go into event graph, and then from here you're going to want to get right off of the speed, you want to cast to the third person character that we were using, and we're gonna get the player character, and then as the player character we want to get the health, and then off of the health you want to promote it to a variable. This should be the first option. We're gonna call this player health. My bad. I did set health here. We don't want that. We want to get health and then put that into there. So what this is doing is you're getting the information from here and setting it from within here. This is always going to be kind of firing off if, of course, the pawn owner is valid, which you are the pawn owner. So if your character is there, then this is going to be valid as long as he has this animation blueprint attached to his mesh here, his skeleton mesh. Alright, so now we have a way for the animation blueprint to be able to pick up the player health. We go to idle run, the default place over here where the event graph tab is, and you have the default or whatever, and we have the death that we're working on. We want to open up that transition, drag in player health, and we want to get the player health. And the same thing that we did last time, we want to do is whether the float is equal or less than 0, and we want to plug that right into there, and that's going to tell us that whether or not we are dead. Alright, that's going to give us the character's animation. We still need to put it into the blueprint that the character is actually going to die, and I mean, it's going to die, but we need to decide what happens when we reach this point besides just the animation, because at this point, if we go right now, he's at that, we'll take his health, we'll set that to 100. Why is that? Hold on one second. Default value, we're going to set that to 100 for a sec. I'm going to play, step into this fire. After a few seconds it should play the animation. Yep, there it goes. We don't want this to keep on looping like that. So we're going to go back into our death animation here, and where is it? Don't think it's here. Animation blueprint, death, play death, right here. So when you click on it into the output, we want to uncheck the loop animation, because we don't want this to keep playing over and over and over again. How realistic would that be? And so now we need to set what happens when we die. We have a health check, and that is running into a branch and it's checking whether our health is at 0 or less. And if this is true, we want to stop movement immediately. And this is going to reference your character movement, which if you have any trouble is up over here. You can always just drag that down like that, type in stop, and you'll see it right there. And so we want to stop the movement immediately. And disable input. And again, we don't have a anything in here for player controllers, so we're gonna on character movement, that's not it. We want to right off player controller, we want to get player controller. This is going to make it so that when you do die, it's going to stop your movement. You're not going to be able to move at all. But we don't have a way for this to fire off. So, on event begin play, we're going to run health check. Off a delay, we're gonna keep it at a 0.2. And we're gonna run into another health check. I'm gonna compile and we're gonna save. We'll run over here. We're gonna wait a few seconds. And now my input is done. I can't move my controller. I mean my mouse. And now we're just dead in the water. That's exactly what we want for this. And so now we have a surefire way for our player to be able to take damage from fire. We're going to take that knowledge that we got from that and we're going to transfer it onto the AI. So right now our player can die. He has the ability to die, and we've tested that. And now we also have an environmental thing that we can use later if we want to, and we can adjust it as fit. And maybe if you have any suggestions on that, I could probably write that down and work on maybe a tutorial for that as well. And I believe on the next one we should be able to get some damage from the AI working, and then after that we should be able to get our damage to the AI working, so the AI can also die themselves. So if you want to see anything else, feel free to let me know. But our next video we should be continuing where we left off, and I hope you learned something or two, you know. Thank you.